Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And here we have another great article from RCR Wireless. I will leave it in the description down below. T-Mobile US CFO sees sustained growth opportunity ahead. A lot of you have asked me recently, how does T-Mobile keep growing at such an explosive rate when they still, in reality, have a half-baked network in a lot of these rural parts that they're trying to grow, right? In a lot of those sub markets, the 775 that they are planning on competing, attacking, and growing in, they really still at scale have a half baked network. They're still behind. Has it gotten better? Have they added services in some of these parts? Yes. Have they added retail distribution in some of those parts? Of course. Just look at all the hometown grants. Look at all that work that they've done over the last, I would say, 18 months. They have invested back into those communities in a big way, but yet the network is still not on par with Verizon and AT&T, and even T-Mobile knows it. But again, just like the playbook that they used in the urban metro core, they're using that same playbook to attack rural and compete. They told us open and honestly, publicly at the analyst day that they won huge market share, right? In the top 50, T-Mobile is number one leading share. In the top 100, they have fair share. They told us openly they accomplished this with an inferior product, meaning the network. It was inferior. It was inferior at the metro core and inferior at scale, yet they still won. And they're taking that same exact playbook into the 775 submarkets that they're going to compete in. So here's something that I wanted to inform you guys about. This is some internal numbers that were giving to me a few days ago regarding growth. So as you see here, the title says, and recently Peter Osvaldik did speak about this growth. They see this opportunity in a big way, especially on fixed wireless access. So they have a pretty ambitious guidance to hit by 2025 on both subs and revenue for fixed wireless access. Well, based on the numbers that were given to me, a year after they hit their guidance, they're already forecasting internally to be anything that they've said so far to analysts and investors in terms of subs and revenue. They're anticipated to be 20% above that a year after they hit the guidance. So 2026. So 20% higher revenue, 20% more subs by 2026. That's what T-Mobile is forecasting internally. So just keep that in mind, because that's another huge part of the growth moving forward. We're in 2022 and we're talking about numbers in 2026. So that tells you they are very confident in that product, in the network, and where the growth is headed. And that's only a part of the growth. That's not even, including any of the other growth that T-Mobile is going to get in wireless, right? They're anticipated to reach 20% market share by 2025 in rural. I think they crushed that. If they take the same playbook and the consumers bite on it, they crush that number. The last I heard, they're already at 15%, and that's per their numbers. They grew the rural share from 13% to 15% very quickly. It didn't take much. So again, if that same playbook worked in the urban environment, it's likely to work in the rural environment as well. And that includes T-Mobile coming in with cheaper pricing. And that's why I still think Verizon will eventually have to budge and drop their prices, even if it's $10. I think they have to do it. They will eventually have to drop their core pricing on all their plans when it comes to competing against T-Mobile, because T-Mobile is already beating them at the urban core, right? They're outgrowing them there. Now, in the areas where Verizon has dominated for decades in the rural core, T-Mobile is coming in, and like I said, with a half-baked network in the areas where they have retail distribution and they have built, somewhat of a network, the port ratios are insane. And T-Mobile is studying that, and they're taking all of that into consideration. They're taking in a lot of growth in these parts where they still don't fully cover and match Verizon toe to toe. So that's where I think moving forward, the sustained growth is going to come from those parts. Yeah, you can take rural into consideration as well. I mean, suburban. There's some growth there too, especially on fixed wireless access. As you head outside of that urban core, the home internet options become very thin, or so I'm told. So that's where they have even a bigger opportunity as well. And what's really helping that and accelerating that is that their 2.5 build N41 is gaining scale. It's getting into those parts, suburban, rural, those sub-markets where it allows them to effectively compete for the fixed wireless access. And customers are biting. They just simply are. And we saw that already work. We all witnessed it work in the urban core. They went into New York City and they grabbed a ton of market share starting in 2012. And they did not have the best network there. They did it in Los Angeles, 60+% share. They did not have the best network. They did it in El Paso. They did not have the best network. And many, many others. So now they're doing the same thing in the rural environment. They're coming in, effective branding, marketing, promos, cheaper cost. Come on in, and people are going. People are taking it. And then in most cases, as they start to discover, like, hey, T-Mobile doesn't work as good here, they don't work there. In a lot of those cases, they suck it up because they want the cheaper price. They like the pricing. And in some cases, they also like the perks. They like the in-flight Wi-Fi. They like the streaming. They like everything else that comes with it. And that's why T-Mobile is, in their recent marketing, also pushing $225 worth of value included into the Magenta Max. They're pushing that too. And I told you guys those numbers in the previous video. 60% of new customers that came on board in the second quarter chose Magenta Max. And I greatly assume, that number will be around the same in the third quarter, which that quarter is about to wrap up. August is almost done. And then we have the last 30 days left in September. September 30th is the last day of the third quarter. And then we head into October. That's the start of Q4. And then I think Verizon goes October 21st is when they report their quarterly earnings for Q3. And then I'm sure a day after or before is going to be AT&T. And then the week after that, it'll be T-Mobile. So this is the last stretch. We have an iPhone launch in the third quarter that starts in the third quarter. But of course, those numbers and that will run over into the fourth quarter. So that all has to get taken into consideration. You know, who's going to have the best promo for the iPhone launch, who's best positioned. And right now, Verizon they just have no momentum. So that will likely also help T-Mobile boost and grow in these rural parts with that new iPhone launch. So there's plenty of sustained growth coming T-Mobile's way. Right? Fixed wireless access will be one, especially as they start really growing the network in these rural parts, which should happen towards the end of this year and then, of course, into next year as well. A lot of that CapEx that's being set aside, from what I'm told, a high percentage of that is going straight to rural. By the end of this year, they want to hit 260 million pops covered with 2.5. Going from 260 to 300 next year, that's going to take them the whole year to get there. That's all rural territory that they're touching with that midband. None of that is suburban and none of that is urban from what I'm told. To get from that 260 to 300, that's another 40 million. That is going to be all rural coverage. So a high percentage of the CapEx next year, so I'm told, is going towards that rural build out. And based on that success that they're seeing early on, they're wanting to further accelerate that build out. So don't be surprised if you see a higher capex, because the success is justifiable. It's there. So in case the investors have or analysts have a question, hey, why are you all of a sudden, spending so far outside of your guidance? Well, the success is there. So why not? Attack while the others are down is the approach here. So let me know what you think about all this in the comment section down below. Look forward to reading your comments. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe to the channel. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Life. I will see you in the next one. Peace.